Good morning. Good morning. How are you? I know I've been MIA for a while, a lot longer than I anticipated, but welcome in or welcome back. Thanks for sitting with me. If you are returning and you haven't hit the sit with me button, I appreciate you coming back. I hope you're finding something out of it or just enjoy being here. If you do, go ahead and hit the sit with me button and you can come sit with me more often. I will admit it's pretty sporadic. um, it's pretty much on a whim right now. I apologize. I hope you guys understand. I try to get up here, but just what the channel is. I don't really just run up and want to gab all the time. It takes a lot to come up. I was just got done watching Michael's Adventures. He's on every morning, and I definitely make it a point to go sit in on his videos before I come do my own video because it's very calming and it relaxes me. And like I said, it takes a lot to come up here. So yeah, if you're new, I apologize. You're kind of meeting me at my healing era / listening to that voice within, one that I believe everybody has. Some may not be able to hear it as much or as loud or recognize it, but I do believe we all have it, no matter where we believe it comes from. I just so happen to believe it is a gift from God. It's this connection to us, kind of His way to try to steer us down the right path that He has for us. And it is so hard to listen to that. It's scary. It's so many things. It's all the things, right? So, yes, it's nice to meet you, but that's where you're meeting me at. And it is messy, very messy. And I'm starting to think that maybe that's one of the parts of this whole thing that God wants everybody to see is just how messy it is. Before you make it to I Made It Mountain, where you're standing there and you're like, I'm here, I arrived. And so, yeah, that's where you're meeting me. So, welcome in, welcome here. It's a safe space. You can talk about anything. Lord knows I do. You can't go wrong here. You're all welcome. But yeah, I've disappeared for a while. Um, but it's all a part of the listening. It started really, that voice has always been here. Um, from the time I was a little girl and growing up the way I was, I may not have recognized it for what it was, but it was definitely always there. And it's been that same constant place. And the older I got, I recognized it as being that voice from God, that his connection. And I never really had faith in it until the adoption. That's kind of where it grew. And that's kind of where I made the decision, to continue to listen to that voice, because during that time, I felt like the whole world was against me. Society, people, the way we think about things of this nature, uh, people around me didn't quite agree. And for those that did, maybe didn't understand, but stood beside me with my decision. And sometimes I do still feel like the whole world is against me, and it's one of those things where it becomes very important to listen to ourselves and that voice. And so I have made it a point from then. It did not steer me wrong for whatever I went through afterwards or before enduring. Um, I'm at peace and it didn't steer me wrong. So, with that, in the past few years, along with listening to that voice, and it's not just because of the adoption, but um, that was really the main stepping out point. And I had a lot of people run from me. I had a lot of people walk away. I had to run from people myself and walk away. just dealing with the loss in general of the adoption, as right as it was. I was having nightmares afterwards, uh, that my two kids that I did have were stranded on a boat out in the ocean, and I'm on land, and there was no way to get to them, and we're just screaming at each other. And I punished myself. I thought, well, because I placed him up for adoption, that was my torture. My other two kids are away from me now. And then I would have dreams where I lost my toothbrush or my brush, or things would disappear and I couldn't find them. So yeah, as right as it was, it and there's some roads that I could go down, of what if, and if I could, and I do visit them sometimes, but I don't stay there because of what God gave me. And that's the peace of knowing that I made that decision for a reason. And so now I'm at the point where I've lost so much, I feel, during this process. I'm faced with another decision, of people that I should walk away from, or have walk away from me, or leave the situation. And I don't want to, why? But I do know why. And I may not see his bigger picture, but he knows why. He knows more than I do. And I'm just at this point where I hear you, Lord, I hear you, but actually doing it is another journey in itself. Just hearing him is the journey. And then that's when the real journey starts, because then you actually got to do it. So that's where I've been at with that. And I just don't know if I can take it again. And apparently he thinks that I have the strength to do it. So anybody out there that knows very well what they're supposed to be doing, and you just don't know how, I feel like we're all at different levels. Some people see the end so clearly, they just don't see the way. Or some people see the way there, but they don't see the end. They don't know where it leads. And we all are missing pieces, and we all have pieces, and we're all at different points in our pieces. And it's a struggle. And I pray for you. I really do. And I know I could use a prayer in it, because it's difficult. And it's a storm. It's a storm. So yeah, that I don't really feel comfortable going too much into it, but for that's the gist of it. Just, I hear you, Lord. I'm just not ready. And that's where I'm at. But also another big chunk of why I've been so MIA, and onto a lighter note. I was in chat the other day, and by the other day, it could have been like a week ago. So just so we're on board here, if you're going to be following along, it could be last week, yesterday, 2 days ago, somewhere within the week. Okay. All right. But I was in chat, and somehow we got on to where I made the comment that me and my husband decided to homeschool. It was a very, 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 very last minute decision, but something that we always want to do. In fact, I never wanted to actually put my kids in school. I just never thought that I could be the one to do it. So I felt like I had no choice, to be honest. And just the things that we have been through, it was a severe, he was already enrolled in his school and was supposed to start that week, that following Monday. And that we decided, and we enrolled him in OHVA. So when I mean that I homeschool, and as I learned the lingo, there was a few people in chat that night that said that they also homeschooled that I didn't know, because I love them and they're a part of my community and I'm a part of their community. And it was awesome. Confirmation, like it just, those little confirmations. I think that you guys homeschool the OG way. I just do public school at home. OVH is just a public school through Ohio that I can do at home online. And that's what we chose to do. Because my problems were never, I mean, don't get me wrong. Do not get me wrong. I do have problems with curriculum in the fact of if you're going to teach this side, then you need to teach the other side. You need to teach all of it, not just the parts that you want to teach. So now I feel like I get the curriculum. We can learn what the lesson is, and then I can evolve it from there. And I absolutely effing love that. I cannot stress that enough. But no, we get a curriculum. He tested and they put him in his classes, and we go online. He'll have a live class, and then we have lessons and things that we have to do for that class. And I follow that. It's a structure that I follow. I commend you, and I hope that maybe one day I would feel confident enough to do homeschooling the OG way. And by the OG way is you go out and pick the curriculum yourself. You put a plan together. You do all the things. I just take care of his attendance, make sure I'm a learning coach, but he's second grade. So I am sitting with him and very hands-on through the whole day. But we do they send us a structured plan that we follow. And that's all that I love that, because just everything that we've been through as a family, specifically for us. Yeah, I just never thought I could, because I thought I did have to go pick out his curriculum, and all that. And I just don't know if I trust myself, especially math. That's my biggest worry in all of this, that I would fail him in math, because math is just not my strong suit, y'all. But thank God, literally, thank God that numbers come like butter for Ollie. He gets numbers in a way that I always wish that I could. Seriously, he will be teaching me. And I'm so thankful for that, because any other subject, I got you. But math, if he does hit that wall of tension, we will have to ask for some help. But he does have a teacher. He has an advisor. He has all these people that I can stay connected with. And that makes me so comfortable. I have this like my northern stars. If I ever get overwhelmed or anything, they're right there. And I love that. I do, because they're working with me, not against me. And that's all I ever wanted is, yes, my son to a level 2, because when he was in school, you were there with him 8 hours a day. But I also know my son too. And my input, I feel, does matter, because I listen to your guys' input and I do everything that you ask me to do. But I do think that home life, your environment, the things that you go through play a very important role in being able to sit down at that desk for 8 hours as well. So it's been a ride. But he still has all of those things. We just do it online now here. It was a decision we always wanted to make. I just never thought I could do. And I take classes to be a better learning coach for him. That's what they call me. I'm just a learning coach. And I want to be everything that I can to be able to be that for him. I want to know all the things. So yeah, in these past few weeks have just been really getting a structure down, because we came and if you guys want to hear a lot more about this, I am so ready to gab, because from where we've been to where we are. It's just, I thank God. Like, he told me to jump and I jumped, and we're doing it. We're there. It's just another confirmation on this road to I made a mountain. But we did start really late. We came in super late. And then on top of that, because they send you a printer, computer, your textbooks, your materials. I mean, from art to science to math to all the things that he will need. Paints, math, base blocks, like all the things. But they came late. and they came, like, we got the printer first, and they had to keep pushing back his start date. So we got the printer first, didn't need the printer. Then we got his books, which is great. Or no, we got his materials, like his supplies, like paints and all this stuff. But we didn't get his books. Then we got his books. And then we finally got his laptop, which we couldn't start anything because it's not phone friendly. My laptop took a crap a month prior. And with my husband working 12s, we got one car. The possibility of getting him to a public library on a computer to do this for hours with Camden, like it just seemed like I'm not going to be able to do this. I'm just not going to be able. It was so overwhelming. And then when everything got here, to buckle down and get caught up to where, because they told us we didn't have to. It's at our own pace, pretty much. We'll get there. But like, I wanted him to be at the same place, at least starting out with his live classes, right? And then we could surpass it which we have from there. So we buckled down and we got it together. And that's what we have been doing, is just coming down with a routine, a structure, a way that works for us. And we have, and we're getting it. And he's made Cardi of the Month. We are actually waiting for his speaker. He got to pick a list of rewards, waiting for his speaker to get here. And it's just, we've been to a face-to-face on the 6th. He got to meet a bunch of kids around here that homeschool too. It's just awesome. It's been awesome. The social aspect that I was so worried about, we have the information we need from the community activities he can do, which there are so much. And we have the online clubs that he can join, which are virtual. He'll sit around with other kids that he gets to talk to, and they will do these amazing, we're doing a cooking class together. It's just awesome. And then we get to incorporate it into our lives. Like going to the store is a learning experience, except for Saturdays and Sundays, Mom. I didn't have school on those days when I was in school. So I don't have school on those days now. And yes. So no school today or tomorrow. But it's just awesome getting to be there and getting to see it and because all it was with the school is, I strongly feel that they, with my family's history with ADHD and my husband's history and his family's history with ADHD, we never doubted it. We knew having babies, they was probably going to come out bouncing off the walls, not able to, like, all the things we knew, and we weren't saying no. So, the biggest thing was, Ollie, just getting him to sit down. Once he sat down, he did the work. He did the tests. He passed his tests with flying colors. It was just hard getting him to sit down in between to do the work in between. And then, during that time, his teachers would stress, oh, he's falling behind. He doesn't know this. He doesn't know that. He doesn't know this. And then it'd come time for a test and he would pass it. And I'm not saying that's right, because there's been plenty of conversations, Oliver, you need to sit down and show them. And that work in between is just as important. You just can't go in there and pass the test. You have to do the work. So I know, and he's fidgety and he wanted to be up. And yeah, all those things sound like he may have ADHD to somebody on the outside. But as his mother and as a family and as everything. Now, my younger son, yeah, I could argue that one right there might show the signs and come back with all the things ADHD. That's who we talk about when we associate, not Ollie. I don't know, as somebody that just automatically, from the time I was in school, like, when are kids to some point? When is it they're just kids and they are learning about their emotions, they're learning to be social, they're learning all of these things that don't require them to sit in a desk for 8 hours a day. I graduated, y'all. I did all my work. I turned it in. I did all the things required of me to be able to graduate, pass my classes. I was never held back. I always did fine except for math. I ain't gonna lie to you. Okay. I took math 1, 2, and 3 all my life and I still couldn't pass them. Okay. All my other classes were just fine. But my attendance sucked. I was there pizza days. And if I wanted to go to a football game, I knew my butt had to be there that Friday, or I wasn't allowed to go to a football game. I had my reasons for being there on the days I went. But I'm sorry. I go to the grocery store. I get in, I get the things that I need and get out. And my family hates that because they will linger in a store for hours. For school, just teach me the things that I need to know and let's go. All this extra, I don't know. You may feel differently, but that's how I feel. And then when as a kid, just a kid, when to this point does it become that? I wanted to make damn sure, because where I was coming from was before, and I'm not making an excuse about it. It's just where I was coming from was no, this is me. I messed this up. I messed up. I failed him. And now we need to fix it. And now that I'm trying to fix it, yeah, there's going to be tension. That's what this is. And I just need somebody to work with me. I need somebody to listen to me. And I need somebody willing to sit down. And I know in a school, you can't get that focus. You can't get that structure. And I've had that conversation with my son. She doesn't have time for this. She can't sit with you. She can't da-da-da. And I felt bad for saying those things to him because it's what I felt he needed the most. But my thing is these past few years, no matter how right it was, I was a mess afterwards, y'all. A mess. Like the only outings they were getting was leaving the house with my husband. They were barely going outside the house because I couldn't do it. Like I didn't leave my house for 2 solid years pretty much. Like did not leave, period. And to coax them back in and to get through, like, yeah, I bathed them, washed them, fed them, cleaned them, all the major things, but they weren't getting the things in between. We would go outside, and the whole time I'm outside, I'm going through it. Enough to where I had to coax them back in the house with snacks, iPhones, phones, games, Xbox, anything to keep them at bay while I got my stuff together. So there was no structure, no rules, no nothing in my house. So then when I wake up and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is hurting my kids. And everything I do is for my kids. You need to wake up. So then when we started to wake up and put structure back into the home, yeah, my kids are like, what are you talking about? Rules? Structure? You want me to do what? No, I haven't had to do this in so long. Like they almost felt like they were being punished. Like, what did we do? It was very difficult. And I felt like I went to the teachers, you give me a structure, I will follow it. And we followed it. And at home, I would just get a different, and of course, at home, being at home, I could be a little bit more stern. Oliver, sit down. We are doing this. And I have that time and it's that focus and it's all of that, all the things. And we followed all of their tests, everything that they wanted us to do, get him evaluated. And all of it was coming back exactly how I felt. This is more behavioral than anything else. I'm not saying we won't land there. If all the things come back and yeah, he still needs a little help, fine. I'm so okay with it. But I wasn't okay with you just giving him medication right off the bat because that's what they wanted. I'll fight tooth and nail. That's what they wanted. They just wanted him to sit down. They didn't want to deal with him. They didn't want to work with him. They wanted him to sit down because if they did, I begged and I pleaded and I cried to them. And I looked around and nobody was willing to do it. And then on top of that, it isn't just that. That's the major part. But then the biggest part was then last year, he was in first grade. I'm a big, my parents didn't care growing up, I mean, that sounds like maybe I'm over exaggerating. I'm not. They just didn't care. They didn't protect. They didn't do all of the things that I needed and wanted growing up. So I tried to be that for my kids, and maybe I go overboard. I'm not a helicopter by any means. Don't come unless you're dying, bleeding, broken. Like, you got to scrape me. I'm oh, you're fine. You're fine. You are fine. I will give it a kiss, but you are fine. Now go play. Like, go. Unless you're, and there have been times where I've warranted, okay, you're not fine. Let's go. We've had some ER trips. But by all means, I'm not a helicopter mom. But do I very much strive to keep my kids out of situations where they don't need it? It's unnecessary. Why if it's unnecessary? I don't know. Do I go? Is it an issue? Yeah. Yeah. Maybe some things are an issue. But again, that's just coming from how I grew up. I am that mom. Most kids to say, don't. I'm going to go get my mom. My kids, don't make me go get my mom. She will. She will. And then I'll smile at my mugshot. But I try to keep my kids, like, no strangers have ever watched my kids. They have never been to daycares. Do we struggle? Hell yeah, we struggle. Lord knows we struggle. But I think that is a very important part of the way I want to parent. I mean, I think that I have major trust issues. Yeah, maybe. But it isn't so much that something may happen. It's just with the way things are, I thought about it a lot when I wanted to adopt, it's one thing, something happens. It's another if you don't think if you don't do anything. And God knows, and God forbid something ever happen, and everybody tells me that they're not going to do something. Some things you know about yourself very much, and some things you don't know. There are things people say you don't know what you'll do until you're in that situation. And then there's things that you know exactly what you will do in that situation. So yeah, I am that mom. I am a mama bear. And that may be confusing with people who say, well, you placed one child up for adoption. But when I think about that, it just comes back to, protection. And that is something that I'm going to have to figure out why I felt that way. And I am. And the only thing I can do is figure it out for when that time comes to be able to explain it to him. And I have faith in that. But yeah, I am big on protecting my kids. So I did want the best for him. I wanted to be involved. I wanted to be there. And the things that they wanted just was not, if it was, but it wasn't. They did the test, it come back behavioral. Then I said, I'm done. We took everything to his doctor, and his doctor came back. He said, yeah, Ash, I just think you guys as a family have been through a lot. And it's behavioral, the structure. You need to do exactly what your plan is to do, is put structure back in the home and set boundaries and rules and all the things again that you had prior. And it's going to take some time. And I just looked all around, and I really didn't, from the school system, I really didn't have that support, and then, oh yeah, that's where I was last year, and these are another things that I feel like I'm all about protecting my kids, right? So when my son came home last year and was nonchalantly saying, oh yeah, when I got locked out of school, me and another little girl, he was in first, she hadn't been in kindergarten then. He's like, oh yeah, when we got locked out of the school. And I'm just like, wait, what? Now? tell me about this story. Like I didn't raise any red flags. I just wanted him to tell me what he meant. So he proceeds to tell me, oh yeah, at recess me and the little girl got locked out at recess, Mom. We looked up and everybody was gone. And I'm just like, well, what'd you do? And he's like, Mom, we went up to the doors. We pounded on the door. We pounded on all the windows up front. He said nobody could hear us. He's like, we were so scared and we wanted to cry, but we didn't, Mom. We didn't. So he was like, I was like, well, what did you do? He was like, we went around. He said we had to go all the way around to the school. And we found a teacher in the back and she let us in and we went to our class. I was like, I said, wait, you went to your class? Nobody noticed you were gone? Nobody came and got you? And he was like, no. And to this day, I bet you that little girl's parents don't know that little girl got left out of school. And you probably thinking, oh my gosh, it's not that big of a deal. But it is, because they're lucky that them two kids decided to try to get back into the school versus walk away from that school. That's all it would have taken. That split decision for one of them to say, let's go wander off somewhere. And my thing is, specifically with us, his teacher counts the kids before they go back into the building. And even more so, my son was the problem child that you can't get to sit in your seat and focus and learn. And we've had all these problems this year. This isn't quiet Charlie in the back who goes unnoticed because he's just the perfect little student and he's just all the things. This is the loud, annoying one of the class. And you lost him. That's the one you lost. And just the way they're looking at me, like it's no big deal. Like, why are you tripping? You count them before you go back in. You didn't lose count on one. And then when you got back to the classroom and they're all sitting in their seats, you didn't even notice that one seat was missing. It took another teacher bringing him to you to notice that you were missing the loud one. I'm sorry. I know that there are a lot of kids in the class. I know it can be very overwhelming, but I didn't go to college for this. I didn't graduate for this. I didn't choose this as my lifestyle. And I'm sorry if that makes me furious in the way that she just smug looked back at me with that grin on her face like, you're just crazy. And all these teachers got my back. That's fine. That is completely fine. And I pulled my son from that school. He did not go to that school any longer. It was not okay. And people may not agree with that, but that's a big risk. And I'm not about them big risks when it comes to my kids. I avoid those big risks. I've made my life around avoiding those big risks if I can. And to me, that was the biggest risk. And they wanted to say, I get my son, they're kids, they tell stories, they exaggerate stories. But if you were to sit there with my son, you would have, that's exactly how that story went. And I bet you if I talked to that other little girl, she'd tell me the same similar story as my son told me. But the story that they wanted to tell me completely missed the point. All right, but you count them before you should have never made it through that door without him. The loud one, the annoying one, the one you have so much problems with. I don't know. So when we went to enroll him this year, it was just everything in me was like, do it, jump, make the decision. And I can't be happier that I did. I can't. I don't have any complaints about it so far. It's going exactly the way that I wanted it. And everybody got to the point looking around, who better to do it for him than me? Who better? Who's more willing? Who has more stake in it? Who has more heart in it? Who cares? All the things. So we did. And here we are. Just call me LC for learning coach. So I've been telling my husband, just call me OC, because it's just been awesome. And he's so excited. And the fact that he can tell me that he's never felt so smart or so special or so seen or so all of these things that I've never heard him say. Yeah, I'll take it. I'll take it. Actually, my Camden started preschool. He'll turn 5 in November, and then we can enroll him in kindergarten. But if we want, he will go from preschool from now till May, and then he'll start. And he's doing that online. He'll start that when the time comes online, and we will have two desks and 2 little classrooms. Yeah, so it's been fun. And just through it all, I'm a very impatient person, and I just think that's what God's trying to teach me the most through this waiting to be on Made It Mountain. And through this, I know Noah's story, Noah's Ark. Okay, that's one of my favorites. I relate to it. I get it, especially after the adoption. I can relate to it so much. So when he was like, "You need to go read Noah," and I'm like, no, Noah, Lord. The boat, the water, the craziness, the waiting, the rain, then the flood, then it happens, and all the bold points. I know it. He's like, girl, if you don't go back and read it. So I did, and I'm glad I did. And anybody else out there waiting and seeing all these confirmations, I encourage you to go back and read it, because I've read that story a million times, and I don't know if it's the reader in me, but I can go back and read something. And each time I do, I get a little bit more out of it. And for as many times as I've read Noah, you would thought that I would have gotten this by now, but here we are. So I went back and read it. And did you know, like, it could be argued that the span it took was 120 years that all happened? Like, not a day, not a week, not a month, not a year, not 5, not decades, it could be said, of him saying it's going to flood, build this boat. He was probably like, what the hey, but I'm going to do it anyway. And then everybody else around him thinking that he was crazy. I can't imagine for that long. And then this is where it got me. Because I bet you every time he's seen those raindrops, every time it rained, every raindrop, he thought, oh, this is going to be it. This is going to be it. And everybody's going to see. Not even about that, but just here it is. I've made it. It's coming. It's going to happen. And then when it didn't, and it was just rain, how devastated he was. And the amount of strength it took to pick that hammer back up and continue nail by nail, board by board. Yeah. I can relate to that. And I just need to calm down over a few years. So yeah, just patience. And it is true, because every confirmation is just like, oh, is this going to be the one that puts me on Made It Mountain? I'm here. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be spouting from the mountaintops. And then it's not. And it's such a devastating blow. Like, what else do I got to do? What else? And it's frustrating, and it's all these things. But somehow I'm picking up the hammer, and I'm picking up that nail, and I'm putting down the board, and I'm going on. And I hope that you do too. And if you're feeling like that, go back and read it, because it's an eye opener. And I hope you pick that hammer back up. And that is it. That's all I got for you. Thank you for being here. I'm bad at goodbyes. I hope to pop on more, but it's probably going to be sporadic. I think I'm just going to have to be a pop-up channel, and I apologize for that. But like I said, for the topics, I really don't find myself running up here, and it takes a lot. So I appreciate you sitting with me. I hope that you get something out of all of it. Not just my story, your story. your voice within, your path, your journey, the messiness, the beauty in it, and just knowing that one day you'll make it on I Made It Mountain. And that's it. I'm going to cut it here because I'm bad at goodbyes. Y'all have a good one.